This is Scott Becker with the Becker Business and the Becker Private Equity Podcast. Today's discussion is $400,000 for a college education. So one of the things I've been watching on LinkedIn and TikTok this week is young people, typically, and I don't want to be offensive, but they typically look like young people from relatively nice, privileged households. And not to say that it's all about privilege, but the lament is that they spent $400,000 on a college degree and they're not finding a job. So here's the issue. Before you go and spend $400,000 on a college degree, the parents, as wealthy as they are, or as nice a kid as the kid is, ought to figure out whether that's a good investment or not. Is there a cost benefit to spending that much? Does the college plus major set you up for success, or is the $400,000 really about a great college experience, almost what we think of today as advanced camp plus school, versus truly a cost benefit decision? If you go ahead and make the cost benefit decision that you ought to spend $400,000 on your kid's college, or the kid ought to borrow $400,000 for college, which is ridiculous, then they ought to do so with a clear head. Am I doing this because of job opportunities, or am I doing this because it just feels good and sounds good? I know that one of the kids at one point wanted to be a philosophy major. And again, we had the discussion and said, you could be a philosophy major, but you better have a STEM major that goes with that. So that student ended up being both a philosophy major and a software engineer and AI, master's. But there's got to be some thought about the cost benefit of the college education for not particularly job-driven children that want to spend $400,000 on a college education, or the parents want to because it meets their prestige index. This is just dumb. And I have to tell you, my empathy for the very privileged person who is on LinkedIn or TikTok talking about how they spent $400,000 on a college degree and doesn't have a job. My first sense would be, I don't have that much empathy for it, but go find a job of some sort. Start working. My guess is that many of those kids never really worked to begin with, and they ought to work. Get a job, figure it out. I don't care if you're making less money than you think you should make, but get yourself started, get a job, and get going. In any event, that's my thought for the day. $400,000 for a college education, ridiculous. But at least if you're doing so, are you assessing the cost benefit, or is it just advanced camp for a privileged child, which is, you may choose to give your kid that privilege, or you may choose to spend that on your child, vice versa, whatever you want to do. But don't then complain if they don't have a job because they picked a major or picked a school that wasn't really on a career path. They weren't really on a career path. To me, the whole complaining about is ludicrous. I feel much worse for a less privileged person who ends up getting suckered into taking lots of loans, thinking this is their ticket to the next level, to a better life, and then can't find a job. But these privileged kids that are complaining on LinkedIn or TikTok or other places, I have literally no empathy for it at all. Thank you for listening to the Becker Business and the Becker Private Equity Podcast. God bless you all. Thank you so much for listening.